of those, but those are three very strong picks, and you can only grab one of them right here as ThunderTalk. If you give over all of those options as well, you are really handing IG a ton of the best stuff. Looks like they're just going to go for a completely different style. I'm not so sure about this one.
I mean, IG may have been onto something by banning away Sejuani and Vi away from Beichuan, since he is kind of the main facilitator for ThunderTalk. But now that Beichuan has something like the Lilia, which prioritizes more for self-interest and trying to play for his own advantage, you're now relying on your solo laners to be a lot more defensive, to be able to find winning matchups so that the Lilia can thrive in more than likely an ideal matchup for the Lilia.
Yeah, but right here, now you have given away a ton of those top priority picks. IG, they're going to slam themselves to Gwen. Such a strong pickup. Oftentimes the sort of thing you have to ban out on the red side. Now, nice and easy to be able to grab that one as the first pickup. Hovering on towards the Corki, again, something very strong. We've also seen in the previous round, we had quite a lot of bans going down towards that bottom lane, losing out on quite a lot of those champions as well, just through Fearless. So it makes sense to be able to pick yourself up this ADC as quickly as possible. Now, with the Rumble still available. You can also grab yourself the Yone here if you want it. This is a ThunderTalk composition through and through. You are just full slamming the send, go in, try for that wombo combo kind of team fight, make it all work together. It can work, you know. There's good setup from the Lilia into the Yone, then you can slap the equalizer on top of everybody. At the same time, if you begin to fall behind, you are so squishy as a composition.
Maokai locked in for Jiejie, just making sure that he has a solid jungler that can provide tons of disengage options, tons of objective control, and at least guaranteed primary engage for the squad in case Meiko decides to go a route that does not involve himself being a, engage support or a tank support. And with the bans that are coming out, they're trying to thin down that pool for Feather because they know that no one else on ThunderTalk is going to be a tank other than potentially the support.
Yeah, right now, ThunderTalk very much are just going to be very squishy. So they are going to have to be a bit careful with this one. IG, this game is wide open for them right now. They're going to start out by banning away the Rel. Works very well in these kind of wombo combo compositions. I wonder if they're also going to get the MF off of the board. Again, the kind of champion that can work alongside all of this. I don't think 1xN has looked great on the MF. I think he likes champions with a lot more mobility, like the Kai'Sa in the previous game. But at the same time, if it fits with the composition, maybe we end up seeing that. Yeah, IG just going to get rid of it.
Yeah. Not only eliminating that wombo potential, but also it's not an ideal pick for IG in their instance because there's so many ways that the MF standing still casting a bullet time can be punished by an incoming equalizer and easy to land Fate's Seal. Varus gone off the table, and IG are going to give Gala something that he can be a little bit more self-reliant with. Ezreal, I think that would definitely make a lot more sense since there's so many things that you have to avoid as ThunderTalk, but at least with the Kalista, you're going to have counterpick support. More than likely, this should give you a winning lane in the bot side of the map, dragon control, and at least Gala can still play with mobility to dodge a lot of these skill shot reliant ultimates.
Yeah, the Leona is still up. That could be the look for IG coming into this one. Right now, ThunderTalk, what do you want in terms of the ADC? Like you said, oftentimes just going to be a winning lane into the Kalista no matter what you do. So they're going to grab 1xN, the Ezreal. It's nice and safe. It can sit you a little bit further back. You can also just be abandoned by Feather. He can go and try roam around, get involved across the rest of the map. Feather hovering a couple of very interesting pickups. He has been known for his hook champions. He's really good on that kind of hook style champion. But in this game, I don't know that it's going to be the best look. You need something a little bit tanky. Otherwise, you are so squishy overall in this situation. I think the Leona's both a good pickup here and a great takeaway from what I think IG would have wanted. But IG, they're just going to slam themselves the Renata right now. It's the perfect pickup into the kind of composition that wants to go flying into you, wants to engage as heavily as ThunderTalks does here.
Yeah. Hostile Takeover will punish any of the ThunderTalk members that go way too deep and have no way to retreat. I mean, when you look at how much disengage that is available at IG's draft, it is scary. And if IG are if they get to be the first ones to an objective, ThunderTalk are so hard pressed to reliably brute force their way in without taking too much damage from the saplings. I think this will be a game that, even though Jiejie is the only frontline member on this squad, I still feel like it's powerful enough to rush the Leandries on the Maokai so that you have really strong setup. You can chunk out a lot of these squishies because other than Feather, there's no tanks, right? And then that just makes it a lot easier for the rest of IG to navigate these objective scenarios.
Absolutely. On the other hand, this composition right here out of ThunderTalk, it's a very them composition. It's all about the all-in potential, going flying in as a group, exactly how ThunderTalk like to play, and there is a ton of damage available to it. Can scale pretty well into the later stages of the game. They just need to be careful early on to not begin to slip behind. This composition falling behind really isn't going to be able to fight its way back into this game, but if you can keep yourself even throughout the first 10-15 minutes of the game, once you have those 2 items completed, these champions are incredibly strong, and the wombo combo potential, if you can land a multi-man lilting lullaby right here by Beichuan, then you can make these team fights really work in your favor.
Yeah. Series point on the line. Invictus Gaming leading the series. We're going to see if ThunderTalk can rise to the occasion and bring us to a game 3, or if IG are going to clean this series in 2 games. It's time to take to the Rift, y'all. Let's see you there.
Come on. I want 3. Raafaa, I want 3. I know you're excited for the next series, but I want 3 right here.
Do you want 3?
I do. I love ThunderTalk.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I can go ahead and get Slayer because he's the ThunderTalk hype man.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I respect it, and I would love for the ThunderTalk narrative to be able to rise and be able to get a game after, you know, such an abysmal game 1 showing.
However,
yeah. And thank you for picking up on my subtle context. I didn't say it, but, you know, it was felt. It was felt in the way I delivered my wording. However, IG still favored them. And, I mean, you know, being on this nocturnal schedule, I wouldn't say no to getting to the banger of the night, JDG versus BLG, just a tad sooner.
And IG, they're very much looking like that's going to be the case. They've looked so strong these last 2 days, taking out top esports yesterday. A massive rivalry they're finally able to overcome. And now coming into this matchup with ThunderTalk, they dismantle them in game 1. What can they do in this second one? They've got the kind of composition that can certainly do so. ThunderTalk missing a ban? Really odd. We still have no clue why they did that. If they wanted to leave a ban behind, or if they had to miss that one, if they just made a mistake. Really not sure what was up with that one, but it did leave a ton of those priority picks available for IG. Most specifically, TheShy has got Gwen.
Yeah, and Gwen has been one of the most dominant top lane champions we've seen emerge this split so far. The story of it was super comical because going into the placement stage, we were like, oh yeah, Ambessa, by far, you know, the most broken top lane champion that you can pick. You can blind into everything and she'll be fine. And then Gwen was being experimented with, and people were like, you know what? With the changes, you know, Gwen might be playable. And then we discovered, hang on, okay, SeTab taking a lot of damage from Rookie, gotta be careful. We discovered that Gwen is actually insanely strong level 1 now. And Riot was forced to nerf the champion because she was so abusive in lane, and yet she still has quite an excellent scaling power curve. So
yeah,
the champion just is never bad unless you are a bad pilot.
Yes, exactly. You have to play Gwen actively poorly to not make this champion still do a boatload of damage. The needlework can just shred through people, and especially in the hands of someone like TheShy. He's played a very interesting series so far where he plays the Scion in game number 1. It's just a brick wall, as you pointed out. Now in game number 2, he's been given so much more carry potential right here on the Gwen. At the same time, there are plenty of other carry options available. Gala right here sat on top of this Kalista. Now, we weren't sure how much we liked it during the draft phase, but we'll have to see what he can do on this champion. There's a reason it's one of the highest priority pick bans. It still does a ridiculous amount of work once you get into that mid game.
Jiejie is leaning forward for a dive. They can make it happen. Maokai, one of the best turret divers in the game. Gotta be careful, though. It is a Leona, but the target is on Ezreal, waiting for him to shift before he commits to Twisted Advance. Jiejie gonna flash away so that he doesn't take too much turret damage, and they can always look for another dive here after the turret damage has stopped ramping up. But Gala... but they have the bailout. Well executed, well timed. This bot lane is off to the races.
This is exactly what you want to see right here. Both of the kills too going down onto Gala. Exactly who you want to be getting fed and ahead at this point in the game. Going to be able to push this wave through as well, so you're going to miss out on a little bit of the extra gold and XP2 here as 1xN, making this just such a rough early game. You can see he is able to get back into lane with just an extra tier, whereas there's going to be a lot more item power, almost 1,000 gold lead already in this bottom lane. That's nuts.
So, the concerns that we had around the draft phase where your main facilitator on the team takes a carry jungler into his rights and kind of leaving the bot lane up to chance. Well, IG are now making the first punish with that move. Now, Beichuan has a moment where he's level 5 alongside Feather, 3v1 versus TheShy. He's trying to clear out the wave as fast as possible, but he pops the ghost, and now he's running away from safety. But you know what? I wonder how much time TheShy can stall here, and if anyone is going to get assist gold, it's just Hoya. So that is probably the best scenario that TheShy could have hoped for.
Really is. He's able to get the wave into what's a really good state for him, right? You can see it's just going to be pushing into him a little bit at this point. And now he's going to be able to get back to lane, only having given gold over to his lane opponent. It's still a death, you know, it's still something good. The Rumble getting early gold is nice, but at the same time, he makes the best out of a bad situation. As we have a look back at this dive once again, really well executed. I love the way that this little bit happens right here, where you're taking a ton of damage, but the bailout up and available. Steps back up, is able to grab the kill for himself as well. Survives, takes the ignite away from Feather too. Now we're going to see these bot lanes heading up towards the top side of the map with the grub spawning in just a second's time.
Yeah, it's just the awareness from Gala, recognizing that he needs to save Feather so that he can kill him after he takes the last turret shot, killing him and putting him into the bailout state before then looking for that final Ren. Just clean stuff from IG. Now, credit to ThunderTalk. They're the first ones to this grub rotation since IG opted in to use their Callista power to get that first dragon off the map. But IG still in a gold advantage. I have the confidence that they can at least have the proactive means to set up for the second grub rotation on time and prevent ThunderTalk from being able to claim that objective as well.
Yeah, there was no real rotation there from IG towards the grubs. They were more than happy to be giving that one away. You would love to be able to get all 6, of course. Anytime that you've got yourself a Gwen on your side, you love to be able to get all 6 of those grubs, can just melt through towers. But still, going through 3 would be more than fine, and grabbing that early Mountain Drake is going to make this laning phase a lot easier as well for the members of IG. Now, engage is happening.
Beichuan still has a flash. He's level 6, but they engage right on top of him, now flashing away after securing the crab. And he pops the Lilting Lullaby just before TheShy is able to close the distance, but the fight on the other side of the river is going haywire for ThunderTalk. IG have done away with Hoya, and they got SeTab on the run. No flash, no fate sealed. He's just hoping for either a lucky base or an execute to the tower.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Sapling... Oh, it's just out of vision. That's so unfortunate right there.
Listen, man,
so close.
ThunderTalk needed a win somewhere in that scrap.
And hey, it comes through. You also managed to just about limp away from that situation as Beichuan as well. It's not going to be quite as bad as it could have been. We'll have a look back at what actually kicked this one off. Beichuan was...
No way.
Oh no.
The LPL observers are on point tonight. Just pointing out every small bit of psychic damage that could be landed into Beichuan's psyche at this point.
That's so unfortunate. He does at least manage to limp away right here as the Lilia, and SeTab goes on a magical journey to be able to survive. Crazy plays back and forth, but still IG coming out on top with these ones. They've got themselves a decent little gold advantage. Like we've said, though, the majority of that at the moment is going to be onto Gala. Rookie also got a bit of a chunk advantage, too. You can see he's up by, what is that, about 20 CS at this point. Same thing happening down in the bottom lane as well. 20 CS, the gap there. So it is just IG playing this early game out a little bit better for themselves with the composition that needs to get into a good spot in the early to mid game, because you've got yourself this Callista. You know, later on into the game, that's where Ezreal can really pop off. We've seen a lot of 40,000 damage Ezreals, you know, 40% of the team's damage across the course of games. And it really is going to be about getting yourself into a good spot earlier on for IG and not allowing this ThunderTalk composition to really get itself into a good spot later on.
Yeah. Definitely not ideal for ThunderTalk for their bot lane duo, who, you know, received notable all-pro mentions in the first split to be down this early. At least, you know, Beichuan, who, you know, they kind of invested with this Lilia pick to be the one that is receiving a lot more resources this game, and just kind of saying, guys, good luck. I promise I'm going to carry later on. Just give me time to scale. But for IG, they are checking all the boxes. Jiejie is getting the full clear and gank for his Kalista Renata lane. TheShy is absorbing ganks and making good deaths, legitimately good deaths. The best case scenarios in, you know, whenever he is getting 3-man goon squatted. And SeTab forced away, TheShy being able to clip the end of the Fate Sealed, but not enough damage on the Needlework to at least threaten SeTab, but at least pushes him out of lane.
Yeah, SeTab gonna have to go back to base. Does have the teleport up and available, so can just come back, stop this tower plate from melting over to TheShy. Still so much damage going on over. And like you said, this is an IG who are looking really good. They have so much momentum off of the win versus Top Esports yesterday, beating those demons, and now putting themselves in a good spot in the early game, at least, in this matchup versus ThunderTalk. Next set of grubs have now spawned. The first set did go over to ThunderTalk, and actually Beichuan is in the area immediately, and it looks like Jiejie just going to pick himself up this Drake. It's just going to be another Drake for grubs trade. Giving over all 6 for ThunderTalk, though, is a risk. At the same time, grubs are very much a win more kind of buff. If you never really get near the towers, you can't use them effectively. That's what IG are going to be banking on.
Imagine the mental damage that is done if you are able to beat a team that had 6 grubs over you. And it's not even like ThunderTalk don't have ways to actually make good use of that. You have a Yone, you have a Rumble who can overheat for that. ThunderTalk are now going to all in a 4-man dive on the top side just to shut TheShy down. Lilting Lullaby not even needed. It's just a great amount of CC. But the great answer by IG, 3-manning in the mid lane. 1xN pays the price, and ThunderTalk are going to look for first brick with the power of 6 grubs.
And you don't even need to use a teleport to be able to get yourself into that play in the mid lane. Now you've just taken down 1xN. They are going to lose this tower. Like you said, it is a good injection of gold. Meiko needs to be a little bit careful here, stepping up into the face of quite a few enemies, but it's a free pushing rookie on the bottom lane, getting himself a ton of gold, a ton of tower plating. Might actually be able to grab this tower as well. There's nobody from ThunderTalk in the area at this point. And there was also a plate picked up for Gala in the mid lane, so just massive advantages being found here for IG. Yes, you get a kill by ThunderTalk, but it kind of feels a bit like a desperation play.
And 1xN, the player that we touted as kind of the star of ThunderTalk, has just been pretty much abandoned this game. Yeah. He is on the Ezreal. He is someone that will be a little bit more self-reliant and can, you know, has a lot more tools available to get out of sticky situations, especially once we get to mid-late game, and has a lot more ability haste under his belt. But right now, it doesn't feel great to be this behind early when you are so dependent on that mid-game spike, the Trinity Force, and the Muramana fully stacked up. If you are decelerated a lot by IG at that rate, then you're really hoping that Beichuan and the rest of the company are going to carry it forward.
TheShy going in again, landing a ton of that needlework onto Hoya. Has to back off a little bit because of the equalizer, but still doing big damage to his lane opponent, chunking him out massively. And it's probably going to spell another recall right here out of Hoya. I've got a lot of pings going on towards IG in the bottom lane, and they are going to have a little bit of a push going on here, but I don't really think you're going to be wanting to dive onto a Yone anytime soon. Yeah, as you said, with the item disadvantages, I mean, look at the inventories right now. You've got first item completed on all the carries here for IG. It's going to be a couple of Liandry's grabbed between Hoya and Beichuan. The burn damage is going to be pretty insane for them.
IG trying to pressure this bottom tier 1 turret. It is answered by ThunderTalk, 3 for 3 so far. You even had 1xN thinking about at least leaning towards the bot side if they really indexed on making the dive happen against SeTab and Feather. Most flashes are up and available. In fact, as I take a double check, everyone's got flashes back up. It's just ghosts that are down, but those guys are on the top side of the map. They're not, you know, involved in this play. Yeah.
Ooh, TP, never mind.
Well, TheShy is asking for a bailout, but he's not going to get one anytime soon because Hoya overheats and puts that guy in the dirt.
That's unfortunate. So much damage was being done right there. by TheShy, but he goes way too far forwards. Like I said, was asking for a little bit of help from Rookie, but that's pretty much just the TP wasted here, not what you would like to see as the Corki. ThunderTalk, they are finding a few ways back into this game. You know, they're only down by 1,000 gold. They've actually got a decent advantage right now in the top lane, small advantage in the jungle as well. ThunderTalk, they are showing that they can fight back for themselves a little bit, but IG, they are just in a very strong spot once we get a multi-man skirmish. For the minute, there's not really the objectives to play around, but that's going to change very soon. Minute and a half until both the Herald and the next Drake are going to spawn. And if IG want to keep the pace of this game high, grabbing this Drake, getting themselves onto Soul Point already would be massive.
Shout out to the LPL observers who caught that Meiko was forced to flash. Feather was looking with the solar flare, and to Meiko's credit, he had no idea where the rest of ThunderTalk's squad was, so it just had to respect the potential of getting caught out, just to make sure that his life is preserved. Third dragon coming up in less than a minute, same with the Rift Herald, and Otacon still a few minutes away. TheShy trying to do combat against SeTab while he's got reinforcements waiting in the wings, but ThunderTalk is also trying to make that collapse happen, and TheShy is going to have to back up and respect it.
And doesn't want to get caught out here once again. Is all of the deaths right now on IG. That's not too rare, that's not too surprising, but still, the Gwen, we talked about it, getting it as that R1 pickup, it's so huge, it's such an important thing to have. Meiko,
history
no
repeats
flash.
itself. Meiko, no flash this time, absorbs the solar flare, the Fate Seal follows up. Jiejie is trying to CC SeTab as long as possible, but this bailout is just going to extend the inevitable. Meiko falls, the hostile takeover was already used, and IG are now down a tool to brute force their way back into the pit.
Yeah, they really would have liked to be able to put themselves on Soul Point. Right now, their composition spikes so much earlier on into the game. But now, all of a sudden, with that death, Meiko not going to be helping out in this one. Let's see if IG can really do anything about it. They're still trying to step up. Jiejie is still in the area, but no, not going to be able to do anything here. Actually, might get caught. Hang on.
Jiejie is forced to go in, but remember, he doesn't have an ulti, and what a beautiful equalizer! Hoya looked through Jiejie's autobiography, knew exactly where he wanted to leave, and laid down the red carpet of death, and Jiejie had no choice but to die.
Now you're giving 2 kills over to ThunderTalk and this Chemtech Drake, exactly what ThunderTalk needed to try to get themselves back into this game. They do not want to be 2-0'd right here.
Hoya now flanking Gala. No flash on the Kalista. IG, they're collapsing. And the early game lead that they had for this Kalista has just been dashed away by ThunderTalk.
Yeah, this is the ThunderTalk that we know and love. As much as they can fall behind early on, they love team fighting, they love just going in, and with the kind of composition that they can do that with has been great. We highlighted it earlier on, right? You've got the double Leandries between Hoya and Beichuan. That's a ton of damage, and the burn as well makes it so tricky for IG to be able to step up in any of these situations. Not that it's been stopping IG, this is another thing, right? Classic ThunderTalk, well, classic IG, looking so good, and all of a sudden begin to throw it away.
Yeah, when we saw ThunderTalk get 6 scrubs uncontested, we may have not, said it directly, but our tone was very clear. It was a very bold decision by IG to make, and a risky one at that, and now they might be paying the price as ThunderTalk able to capitalize on some mispositioning by IG and just forcing the play, seeing remnants of what made that ThunderTalk magic happen in the first split of the season.
With a very aggressive composition out of ThunderTalk, not necessarily in that it wanted to go in the early game, but in that around these team fights, you gotta all go flying in, get these big multi-man combos off to really make it work. We haven't even seen that so far, and it's been a good early set of fights for ThunderTalk. And by picking themselves up that Drake, they've also bought just another 5 minutes, slowing down the pace of this game, getting them closer to these advantages. You can see from this one, Hoya, he's just hiding in the darkness. It's not exactly what you want to go face check into Gala.
Unfortunately, Meiko cannot do much. If the handshake does not land, then there is no other CC left outside a hostile takeover, which in that moment was already used since he had done it right before his death and walking back to mid lane. ThunderTalk now find themselves 2,000 gold advantage, just under 20 minutes in the game. Dragon spawning in 2.5 minutes. Otacon less than that. And the Baron still 6 minutes away. What seemingly could be a long time relative to how we have seen the game play out so far. But the way that ThunderTalk have rebounded and, you know, quite punished a little bit of the complacency by IG this game is now setting them up to at least... I know it's early on to say, you know, the gold lead is very small. But when you just look at all the pieces that ThunderTalk have set up for themselves, the Yone is scaling well into that 2-item spike. We gave our concerns about 1xN not being able to hit that 2 items without IG being able to steamroll them. They're past that. More mana almost fully stacked. Trinity Force completed as well. ThunderTalk have gotten through the early game stage woes, and now they're back on track.
This is the first gold lead that they've had all series long, and they're really looking to keep pushing it further forward. Lilting Lullaby gonna land. Nice.
Holy moly!
Oh
I don't
my!
know how that Zenith Blade landed, and 1xN is able to get vengeance for himself as that True Shot Barrage just neutralized Gala, and the rest of IG are collapsing once again. ThunderTalk, a far cry from what we saw in Game 1. It's now IG on the back foot, stumbling and falling. ThunderTalk looking large in Game 2.
They're going to get a clean ace right here, and they've also got themselves the Rift Herald to be able to make this push hurt even more. All 6 Grubs too. We talked about how Grubs is a win more kind of buff. Well, ThunderTalk are winning, and here comes the more right now. They're going to be able to pick up 2 towers, maybe even get a charge onto the 3rd.
Definitely potential, since you have 6 Grubs on your side, trying to do as much damage as they can. Yeah. It might die before it gets there.
It will, but still, the fact that you were able to get even that much, you said it was a small gold lead, a modest gold lead. Well, this is now 6,000 gold of an advantage for ThunderTalk, and they are in complete control of this game. And once again, it's IG just stepping up in a situation they don't really have any right to. Beichuan makes it happen. The cleanse at least keeps Gala away from the sleep, but like you said, the Zenith Blade landing there is crazy, and the immediate follow-up out of 1xN. This guy, we keep talking about him as being one of those big carries for the team. He's not stepped up so far in Split 2. This game, though, he's really come to play.
The fact that IG made it their mission to bully 1xN for the first 10-15 minutes of the game, and we were rightfully concerned about whether he was going to be able to still be a relevant factor. Yep, those concerns are quelled. And now ThunderTalk, there's nearly 6,000 gold ahead. And at this point, IG, they're just hoping for a miracle fight to get themselves back in the game. Otherwise, it is game over. We might just be going to Game 3. The Fate Seal lands onto Rookie. And this is just curtains. This is just a courtesy. Oh, my goodness. You see Beichuan getting fancy, flashing Q forward, not even needing the lilting lullaby. Everyone from ThunderTalk is just styling on Invictus Gaming. The Otacon will be taken afterwards, but at this point, ThunderTalk have everything they need on the next fight to just run into the base.
Yeah, what did I say? I want a game number 3, and ThunderTalk are attempting to deliver right now. Another team fight where IG, they're just stepping up. They feel like they need to do something at this point in the game. They're falling far too far behind on the kind of composition that you can't afford to do that on. They get the Drake. They do. That is something for IG. They have got themselves onto Soul Point, but it's Chemtech Soul. It's not necessarily the Soul of Dreams, not the one you really want to be relying on to get you back into this game. Can see in this one, the Equalizer is just gorgeous. It completely splits up the backline. It does a ton of damage to Rookie and to Meiko, and then Rookie, just gets one-tapped right here. And sure, a couple of kills do go back. TheShy is able to pick one up, but the lead that you're in right here as ThunderTalk makes it so easy to just keep stepping up. You just have a wallet diff.
I mean, the fact that Beichuan is just Q flashing, not as an ult setup, but just to put more damage.
For fun.
Mean, yeah, for fun. I mean, I think Beichuan is feeling so amazing right now. Like, obviously, when you play a good game, you're going to feel good. But it's even more euphoric when you were kind of sprinting it in the first game, and you bounce back, and you're like, Game 1 doesn't even matter, bro. Look at me now. 10 stacks on the Dark Seal, 5-0 and 6 on the Lilia, the highest bounty in the game, and he's still not died yet. I mean, ThunderTalk took a big chance in saying, after that Game 1 performance, Beichuan, we're going to give you the keys to the kingdom. We're going to let you be the star. Can you deliver? The answer is yes so far.
Yeah, absolutely. 7,000 gold going to be the lead right here for ThunderTalk. A ton of that right now. Sat on top of Beichuan, as you are saying. We've got a minute now until Baron's going to spawn. SeTab, Is he just caught? Yeah, he's just going to go down here. That's just another kill picked up. Oh, well, boy. Why there?
Sometimes this is how it starts.
Yeah.
It's still a 7,000 gold advantage for ThunderTalk, and as you
Raafaa,
outlined, the Chemtech Soul, not necessarily the, the greatest dragon to acquire in this scenario. However, certain champions like Gwen make really good use of it. Anyone with a bailout make really good use of it. So it's not the worst setup.
No.
And if IG are able to stall out the game for another 10 minutes, if they get Soul and then you play for Elder, I mean, then I don't care about gold leads at that point. If you somehow flip the Elder and you get Elder, then you might as well still be able to win the game at that point. Yeah. So ThunderTalk, you gotta be careful now, because the game is no longer IG's to lose, it is yours to lose.
Exactly. And we've seen IG mount these kind of comebacks before. They're not one of the cleanest teams that we've got here in the LPL, but they are fun to watch. Let's see if they can do something. They've got some tools available. The fact that you're able to get a little bit more gold going down over to these main carries is going to help too. With so much of the gold advantage right now being into that jungle role, as much as it's good to put a Maokai behind, there are other champions you would rather be further behind right here. IG, though, right now struggling to get their own red buff.
Solar Flare fishing, equalizer, beautiful, right in that choke point. The rest of IG's backline forced to retreat as SeTab tries to go in. The Soul Unbound keeps him alive. TheShy keeping Hoya and SeTab back. But the rest of ThunderTalk can lurch on forward and just annihilate the backline. True Shot Barrage will do a number in Rookie's back. Meiko could be falling next. 1xN not able to find it. But ThunderTalk have done enough damage that it's only Meiko left. And this is game.
Yeah, this is going to be over right here. They've got themselves a ton of grubs. They can step up. The grubs will spawn. No, they're just going to wait for the wave. Don't want to go in a little bit too far. Looks like it's just going to be a base TP coming out right here from Hoya. With the timers going down. 4 seconds until Jiejie. 10 seconds until Gala. Way too long for anybody important to be back up and available. We're going to be going to game 3.
Disaster scenario avoided for ThunderTalk. They're able to make the comeback happen, and we're going to game 3.
Oh, it looked like it was going to be a really short day right here. 2-0, 2-0 into the banger series at the end of the day. But no, say ThunderTalk. This is one of the banger series of the day. 1-1, IG and ThunderTalk. This was a ThunderTalk roster through and through. This composition fully indexed into the team fighting, into the skirmishing, exactly as ThunderTalk loves. And they execute on it really well.
And I will say, even though we're going to a game 3 and it's extended the overall time of the series, two things I can appreciate. They're being courteous with the game times. They are stomps, both 25-ish minute wins, but also a good sign for both teams to show that they can be extremely dominant once they get that lead in the mid game, and they are just rolling through it as fast as possible. No signs of, they're like we said, in the first game, IG were getting a little scrappy and, things were a little messy, but then once they found the lead, it was just way too hard for ThunderTalk to come back into the game. Game 2, very similar. Obviously, IG had the lead. ThunderTalk invested into the top side of the map, being able to play for their advantages there. Got a strong mid-game lead off of it. And yeah, SeTab got caught out one time, but you know what? No big deal. Everyone has an oopsie. And ThunderTalk made sure to close the game out from that position. So now going into game 3, Bloxer, I'm trying to determine what the priorities have to be in terms of draft for both teams.
You've lost out onto a lot of these very high priority pickups. Remember, in that previous game as well, ThunderTalk didn't ban a champion. They just skipped their third ban of the first phase randomly. So, there are still a couple of things available. Things that we've been seeing quite a lot recently, like the Varus, who's just slipped through quite a lot of this series, made it to the second round of bans. Maybe that's going to pop up. In terms of overall compositions, though, I just need, again, something on ThunderTalk where Beichuan try carry for you, where 1xN is actually going to be able to get through the laning phase without being shut down too much. They were shut down a little bit at the early stages of this game, but were able to get themselves back into this one. And I gotta be honest, Hoya looked way better in this game than he has done for a while in a couple of these series here.
Yeah, I mean, even some of the games, despite their losses, Hoya looked at least stable, nowhere near as shaky and kind of a liability in the placement stage games that we saw opening up the second split. But yeah, Hoya Rumble, baby. he cooked them. He, like, pun intended. And look at that. He's even topping the damage charts as well.
Yep.
Every single equalizer felt fight winning for the side of ThunderTalk. I think there was only one fight where he came over early, and it was kind of that weird river fight where IG were still kind of in control. But every ult then was in a choke point, and it just put IG in a really bad spot. My favorite equalizer was the one where he predicted where Jiejie was trying to escape, and Jiejie just essentially walked into his own grave at that point. Really on point game here from the top laner for ThunderTalk.
Now, as much as I've got a lot of praise to give towards ThunderTalk in this game, I've got a lot of criticism right here as well onto IG. They made some really bad decisions throughout this game, but I think one of the first ones was during the draft phase. We were a little bit critical, a little bit dubious of this Kalista pickup, and it came to fruition, right? It didn't feel like Gala was really able to do anything on that beyond the first, 5-6 minutes? That was looking good, and then from that moment on was just getting caught out constantly, wasn't really able to use this Renata combo either alongside Meiko, and the composition, it felt like it just didn't have anything to really bridge it between the early game winning bot side and then the rest of the game.
Yeah, I almost feel like with Kalista compositions, you want a little bit more peel, but then again, like, I wasn't upset with, the draft in terms of the disengage options they had, but it definitely didn't seem like they were set up right in a lot of these situations. There's multiple times when ThunderTalk can just kind of walked up and was able to force fights, and I feel like you should have more strong control of these choke points, right, as IG, and I don't know if that is a fault of I'm not sure. I look at some of these fights and it just seemed like ThunderTalk was forcing them before IG had a chance to get really strong setup. So maybe that
the thing with this composition, right, especially when you've got the Renata and that hostile takeover, is that your engage is your opponent's engage. They're trying to jump into you, and you're able to turn that around in a team fight. That style only works when you're ahead. When you're behind, they just get those kills immediately. You don't have the time to be able to turn that around into that re-engage after the initial engage comes through from ThunderTalk. And so, without your own proactive engage support, without really having Jiejie in a position to be able to step up and initiate those team fights for them, well, it didn't really feel like there was anything to do. That's partly the fault here of TheShy. Having the Gwen, he really needed to get himself an early advantage. He had one good death, which we were not unhappy with, but then he wasn't actually able to get any solo kills for himself, never was able to scale up to the point where he was actually dealing enough damage, and this composition just doesn't work from behind whatsoever.
Yeah, credit to ThunderTalk for really driving in the advantage on the top side of the map. It wasn't just okay, we ganked TheShy and then we left it alone, right?
Yeah.
They had to match the amount of pressure that IG was putting relatively into 1xN side of the map, and making sure that, well, if 1xN is going to suffer, then we need to make sure that TheShy suffers as well, and at least it balances out in who's getting a lot more leverage this game. And thankfully, the way that ThunderTalk were able to play it out, it was not just Beichuan getting a huge advantage, but also Hoya, who, you know what? It definitely was a toss-up, but I think the equalizers themselves, Hoya paid back tenfold for the game. And if there's any Beichuan fans in the chat who are disappointed, thinking, oh, he should have gone and he was deathless on the Lily, had 10 Dark Seal stacks, blah, blah, blah. Like, Beichuan did a really solid job of the game, but I think you would be hard-pressed to deny the impactfulness of Hoya's Rumble this game.
Yeah, the Rumble was just shredding through people. Like you said, the equalizers incredibly well placed right there. But it was the kind of game where there were multiple carries able to step up. In fact, when you look at who did the most damage in this game, it was pretty much even overall in terms of damage share across all of the carries. It was just Feather who wasn't doing a lot. That's fine. He had a ton of really good engages too.
Easily own it.
Exactly. We are happy with this one. And ThunderTalk, it was a really good team win from them. Congratulations though to Hoya for that player of the game. Well deserved.
Yep. Well, I didn't think we would get here, but we're going there. And Bloxer prayed for it. He asked for it. And it has been delivered. Game 3 between IG and ThunderTalk coming your way after this break.